We need everybody to jump on. We're going to get started here in just a few minutes. Exciting stuff today, folks. We have exciting stuff today. All right. It is, let's see, 10:30. So we're going to get started rocking and rolling here. Awesome. Give it just a couple seconds here for everybody to be able to jump over from the other conference call. Welcome, everybody. Good deal. All right, folks. We're going to get started. And, you know, lately, I've really liked the Eye of the Tiger. And so I think during our leaderboards, we're going to listen to the Eye of the Tiger because regardless of where you are in this business, everybody can kind of relate to Rocky Balboa, okay? You may have just gotten started and you feel like you're running up and down stairs and you're exhausted. You may feel like you're getting punched in the face by a giant Russian currently. Or you may be punching the Russian in the face. I don't really know. But what I do know is this. As long as you stick with it and keep going, you will end up like Rocky Balboa with a ginormous house, 20 different sequel movies, and millions of dollars. So everybody's Rocky at some point when they start here. So we're going to get started here with our leaderboards, and we've got some good ones. We have got some good leaderboards here today, folks. People went out there, they kicked some tail, they took some names, and they did not leave any prisoners. And so let's start with our APV leaderboard. Coming in at the number 5 spot, myself, actually, Grant Reynolds, coming in $4,406 in annual premium volume. That's up. Coming in number 4, there's only one of her, and she's beast. Laura Davis, coming in with $4,751 in annual premium. I don't care who you are. That's not shabby. That's pretty awesome right there. Number 3, coming in, Todd Bader. I think I said your last name right. Hopefully I did. Coming in here with $5,691 in annual premium volume. Good job, buddy. Number 3 spot. Number 2, I think this is pretty cool. Ken Mallard, direct to Miss Betsy Barr, coming in with $5,972 in annual premium. And I believe I got this information correct, that Ken is also a new unique rider. First time rider. I mean, come on, guys. $5,972 your first week. Go, look, snaps. Snaps for Ken. Snaps for him. That's just a win. I don't care who you are. That's awesome. We got number 1, because there's really can only be one number 1. And if you're not number 1, where you go? We know him. We've heard his name. We know him. He's probably the most good-looking guy in Symmetry Financial Group. I'm fairly convinced. And I am lucky to have him on my team. Number 1, Mr. Elijah Carujo, full-time Symmetry Financial, part-time model. I don't know. Anyway, we're done. I need to come up with a nickname for you. That's what I need to do. Coming in, number 1 spot, $6,970. Good Lord. Do you sleep? That's awesome. All right. Now, that leads us to our app count. Coming in the number 2 spot in app count. She was number 4 on the APV, number 2 on app count. Miss Laura Davis, 6 apps. It's not shabby right there. Number 1, he was number 1 in APV. He's number 1 in app count. Mr. Elijah Carujo, coming in with 7 applications. Well done, buddy. Well done. Well, all of this happened because somebody hired somebody at some point, and that leads us to our recruiting leaderboards. We've got Mr. Chris Cook coming in with 4 recruits. That's not shabby right there. Number 1 spot with 4 recruits. We've got number 2 spot representing the Reynolds group, Mr. Elijah Carujo with 3 recruits this week. Good job, buddy. We've also got Balzarn, got 1 new recruit, and we've got Dustin Hensley with 1 new recruit. Well done, folks. Well done. Can't really do that unless you do some STPs. What is an STP? Share the plan. You got to tell somebody about this business in order to have somebody get hired to this business, right? Makes kind of sense. Which comes first, the egg, the chicken, or the sandwich? I don't know. But we've got 10 STPs this week. Mr. Mark Neubauer, good job, buddy. We got Mr. Barry Davis. Good job. Dustin Hensley, well done. Mr. Elijah Carujo, congratulations. You were interviewing your tail off this week, and myself all had 10 or more STPs this week. Golf claps for that, folks. All of that leads to your groups and your organization. Super proud of my team coming in with the number 1 spot. Just barely beat out the Zarn group for Team of the Week. And so we came out with Team of the Week, $15,190 in annual premium volume. If you don't know what APV is simply how much that client, that family that we protect is going to pay for their coverage over the course of the year. And so Val Zarn came in number 2 spot, $15,006 in annual premium, and we barely just nudged you out, buddy. $15,190 in annual premium. That's not shabby right there. Well done. Well done. Awesome. We got some news and notes, folks. News and notes. Number 1, if you have been here with Symmetry for any amount of time, you probably may have gotten this postcard because we have one of the most important conference calls. Apparently, it is the most important conference call we've ever had. And it's this Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Talk to your upline. Make sure you have the Zoom link for that. It's the national call. Hello, Aspen. If you've been here for any while, you would have known that we were supposed to go on a cruise back in April. It was to celebrate our 10 years as a company. And so unfortunately, due to this thing called a global pandemic, we were not able to go on that cruise. And so I believe that this is letting us know some really cool information about the next 10 years of our company. I've heard some rumblings, folks, and apparently it's going to be pretty epic. So do whatever you got to do. Put it on your calendar. Make sure that you're going to be there June 17th, this Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is a national call letting us know some really neat things that are coming up. Get with your upline. Make sure that you have the Zoom link information for that. Boom, be on it. Other thing, we also got some Pura Vida action going on. People are, myself, Elijah, several others are competing to be able to be on the Pura Vida trip. And so we just finished up week 2 of the 9-round final or 9-week final round. And so everybody competing in that, keep it up. Let's see. Let's represent folks. So super excited. Those are our news and our notes for today. If you have questions about anything that you heard, make sure you get with your upline. I have a really cool guy here with us, Mr. Elijah Carujo. Can you hear me, buddy?
Got you loud and clear, bro.
Good. So you heard his name. He went out there, kicked some serious tail. Elijah, how many appointments did you run this week?
It's funny you asked, Grant. Got my numbers right in front of me.
Oh, why? Because you're running a business and not a hobby.
Yeah, fun fact about my journey here. I'm a professional hobbyist, if that's a word. Ran a phenomenal hobby here with Symmetry Financial Group. Ran it so well, I got the T-shirt. Didn't make much money, and you know why? I didn't track my numbers. So transitioned over from a hobby to a business, and last week I booked, if you're wondering what my numbers were, I think I posted them in GroupMe. I did 296 dials. I had 40 contacts. I booked 21 appointments. I sat with 14 of them, wrote 7 apps for just shy of $7,000, which is on the money for the average app value of annual premium.
Yep. I mean, that's right there. I mean, that's pretty Solid right there. And you just went out there and you just used your own system that you created on how to run appointments, because you kind of figured out your own way of how to run appointments and kind of rewrote all that and right? Or how did you?
Man, I went on the SFG website when this whole pandemic crap started to hit the fan. I learned how to run a Zoom appointment, and I booked 21 appointments. Take note of that. If you're looking at numbers, if you're trying to figure out how in the world do you sit with 14 plus, 15 plus families a week, you got to book more than that. I think I had 6 or 7 no-shows. And so I booked 21. I sat with 15 or 14, I'm sorry, all over Zoom. I ran appointments in Delaware, Virginia, Maryland, and New Jersey, all from my apartment.
I love it. And you just use the Symmetry system and put the activity behind it. And now, how much are you going to make from this week?
Oh, dude. I'll be posting screenshots of the deposits
I get it.
Today or tomorrow. Should be getting it should all be issued. One needs to do a phone interview. We all know that's a party. So I think it should be north of 3,500, something like that.
I like it, buddy. That is not a shabby week right there, man. And you are consistent in that, which I love. And so I wanted to give you a snapshot because Elijah is doing our book of the month here today. And so I wanted to give you a snapshot into what did his week look like. He was number 1 APV, number 1 app count. I would dare say probably number 1 activity for the week. And he just went out there and he kicked tail. And so I wanted to give you a snapshot into what that looks like for somebody who's playing this game at a high level and is playing to win. And so, Mr. Elijah, you have our book of the month. We are reading Miranda Martin's book. And so you have chapter number 4 that you're going to go over for us today. And so I'm going to kick it over to you. Give us those nuggets. And folks, if you're not taking notes, what are you doing? Okay, what are you doing with your life? Take some notes, write some stuff down. It's going to stick in the noggin. All right, Elijah, take it away.
Cool. So book of the month this month, if you ain't got it, you're missing out. It's called The Ultimate Sales Training Success Guide, written by one of our own, Miranda Martin. I dare say she's one of the biggest female badasses within our company. And biggest badasses, period. And she wrote a really great book that is directly applicable to how to transfer the things that we learn to the teams that we're building, to the people we're influencing, and to the people we're mentoring. And so I got chapter 4, which is titled Planning for Success or Failing to Plan. Now, I am not going to read this word for word because that's your job. I'm just going to basically go over the things that I thought were neat highlights and I took notes on this morning. Yes, I take notes on the things that I read. So first thing that stood out to me is your life moves in the direction of your most dominant thoughts. And it's interesting that I read that in the book. And then Danny Young actually mentioned that this morning on the call, if you were on there. That's one of the things that he said verbatim. I think I wrote it down. He said, your subconscious runs your life. And that was the opening quote to chapter 4. And so she also, one of the big themes in chapter 4 is basically scheduling. And when it comes to scheduling, how it affects your thought process. And so she said, if it's not in your schedule, it's not a real commitment. And they opened the chapter with a really neat study that talks about scheduling and goal setting. And so if you didn't read it yet, basically there's this study of these patients. I think it was 60 patients who all got out of surgery where they have to go through rehab to learn how to walk again. They all had some significant leg surgery. And so they're in this process of rehab. There's a group of 60 people. They give them all this chart to kind of track their progress. And on the back of it, there's a blank sheet titled Weekly Goals. And so the big group of people who are polled are essentially split into 2 groups. One group that actually fills out the weekly goals list and the group that doesn't. And they wanted to test to see if writing out your weekly goals during a process of being rehabilitated to walk again had an effect on your progress. And what they found was the people who wrote out weekly goals, whether that was, I'm going to go for a 1-mile walk in the park, I'm going to take these people with me, the people who were very specific and the people who actually wrote down what it was they wanted to do that week, recovered 2 to 3 times faster than the people who didn't. And this wasn't just they pulled 2 or 3 people. They pulled 60. And these people were all over the ages of 68 years old. They all had significant leg injuries where they had to get surgery. And so it wasn't something that could have been fluked. And so the biggest difference was the group simply wrote out what it was they wanted to do. And the group that did that succeeded or were more efficient by 2 to 3 times in comparison to their counterparts. And so one thing that I liked was how Miranda Martin threw in the detail in there about how they would also include in on their weekly goals, how they would overcome pain, because the process of getting in and out of a chair after having the severity of leg surgery that they got was excruciating. And so on that goal list, they also included in there, how were they going to overcome the challenge? Whether that was, I'm going to bring these pain meds with me, or I'm going to call this person to encourage me. The more specific they were, the more efficient they were in their recovery process. Really neat detail there. And so she moves on from there to talk about how our brains work in terms of decision-making processes and the energy that our brains use. And so I just pulled this quote from the book because I thought it was really interesting, because she wanted to emphasize that making decisions drains our energy. And then she's going to tie the two with goal setting to decision-making. And so you may think that you're not using energy because you're not moving, but have you ever thought about this? Procrastination actually drains your energy reservoir because you are using constructive energy to think about how you don't want to do something instead of using that energy to actually execute. And so she compares there's 2 sections of our brain. There's the outer portion, which does the more intensive thinking, the creative processing, the problem solving. Then there's the inner portion that basically handles habits, things like breathing, blinking, drinking water, making food, stuff that's not mentally intensive. Obviously, one uses more energy than the other. And so decisions that are habits use the inner part of your brain. And this is unique because our brains were designed with an automatic energy conservation system. So a thought or a decision that is habitual uses less energy than something like, I need to creatively solve this problem. Does that make sense? Is that hitting home? Anybody listening, taking notes on that? So this is where the light bulb went off for me, because making difficult decisions or having difficult tasks or habits that use energy that would have been lost in pontificating are redirected to executing. And so the point that I'm trying to make here is the group of patients who wrote out their tasks, things that were habits, because they didn't have to think about it, or whether you have difficult tasks you have to do, making a list of it takes the excuse of procrastination away. When you procrastinate something, it uses more energy thinking about the task you don't want to do than it would take to actually just do the task, because you're using the wrong part of your brain for the wrong task. Does that make sense? And so think about it if you're driving. If you're driving or you're sitting idle in your car is running, you're still burning gas. But depending on how you're using your car, you're actually going to go somewhere depending on how you're using that gas. The same is true of our thoughts. And so writing a list of your goals, whether it be difficult tasks or things you're wanting to do that week, helps take the thought process of, shoot, what do I need to do? And it just turns it into a habit. And so you can use your energy to solve more difficult tasks. And so the question she asked in the book are, what are those tasks that you dread, whether it be in our business, dialing, interviewing, admin, or back office? I know Grant absolutely hates the admin side of things. That's why he hired somebody to do it for him, so he can devote that part of his brain and the high energy activity, the high money-making activity. Not that admin is not important. He just wants to double down on what he's great at and then hire somebody else to do the things that, not that he couldn't do, but that he would be more effective doing elsewhere. And so she wraps up that thought process with, remember, the goal is to not be consistently good instead of occasionally awesome. When we are good continuously for long enough, then excellence and long-term excellence is a byproduct. But in order to do that, you have to first have your thought processes in the right order, because if you're approaching things that are super important with first procrastination as the initial reaction, you're going into that decision, into that task with lower energy than you otherwise would have unless you had a list. And so it's science of how to be effective. Okay. And so what does this mean for us practically? You got to create a schedule for yourself. All right. If you don't have a schedule, it's no wonder you're not succeeding here. That's a quote from Miranda Martin. And so she also says, she has this thing at the end of the chapter that I really like, the Miranda Martin writes. Now, these are not my words. I just copied and pasted this. So you have a right to first stretch yourself, take intentional time to create structure, to organize your thoughts, and pre-plan to increase your success rate 2 to 3 times faster than all the lazy ass people who won't take the time to figure this out. Never use half your ass. Always use your full ass. Miranda Martin. And so that's what I'll leave you guys with. So going into this week, it's Monday. We all have those thoughts on our calendar. We all have those thoughts about the things on our calendar that we may necessarily not want to do. We may be dreading doing. I would challenge you to first make a list of your weekly goals. I did this last week so I write out this activity sheet. I write on here my list of goals. These are short-term micro goals. I put on there, dial 300 times. I missed that just shy. I did 290 dials. Sit with 18 plus families. Sat with 14. Write 9,000 in annual premium. Wrote just about 7,000. But you know what? What I still did was good. I don't know if I would have hit that had I not wrote those down.
You know, the thing with that though is how your goals and your results and your activity all matched. Like if you had done the activity that you had put out there, you would have gotten the result that you wanted of the 9,000, because it's all, the metrics are so solid that you can see how I ran 14 instead of 18 plus. Mm-hmm. And so I wrote 7 instead of 9.
Yep.
Like you see the relationship there. Like it's incredible.
Mm-hmm. And so if you don't have a schedule for your week, you need to get on that, because if you don't have a schedule, you're not going to know where you're going. Grant, what's that quote about intention that you always say? Like intention doesn't lead to direction. What is that?
Yes. Direction, not intentions, determine destination.
There we go. That's what I was looking for.
Direction, not intentions, determines destination.
Yep. And so if you're out there, you're new, or you're just getting started, you're looking at this, or you've been here a while and you're stagnant, I would say first things first, you need to get your schedule together, because if you don't have a schedule, what are you doing? Second, make a list of the tasks that you are dreading to do. Because if you're procrastinating things that are like really important, whether that be dialing or calling clients to follow up on business, or back office, or following up with that recruit, you don't know if they quit or not, whatever that task is, if you're procrastinating more than you are working, you're going to end up with not only no results, but halfway through your day, drained and tired as crap. And so all of that can be avoided at the beginning of your day, having a schedule and approaching things with a proactive thought mindset, because we all have stuff we don't want to do, but if you spend more time thinking about not doing it, that's called procrastination, and it's going to drain on your mental energy more than if you just did the task. So that's chapter 4. With that, I'll toss it back to you, Grant.
Thanks, sir.
Pretty good book so far, man. I like it.
I like it. It's a good book. And thank you so much just for dropping your wisdom. One thing I love about you is you use your whole ass, and I love it. And so if you want to hear more from Mr. Elijah Carujo on how to use your whole ass, tomorrow we have the New Agent Call, and Elijah is hosting the New Agent Call. And so he's going to have a question and answer time at the end of it. He's going to walk through everything that you need to be successful here in your first 90 days. So if you're not seeing the success that you want, get on the call. For goodness sake, go learn from people that are getting what you want. So that's what we got. All right, the last couple minutes here, I'm calling it Hot Seat with Grant, because these people don't know I'm calling on them. Congratulations. And so pretty much we've got our leadership team that's here, and they're awesome in some way, shape, or form. You're either direct to one of these in one of their organizations or direct to Chris Cook. And so we have just some really awesome leaders who have been here for a while. And so I want to ask them, and if you guys could just keep, and I'm going to call on each of you one by one, if you can just keep your answers to 90 seconds, short and sweet. Pretty much the prompt is, if I had known, if I had listened. If I had known something in my first 90 days, if I had listened maybe to some coaching in my first 90 days, what would that have been? And so Elijah, you're not quite on the leadership team yet, but we did just hear from you, and I'm curious. You've been here almost since day one with me. And so had I known, had I listened, your first 90 days, buddy, give it to us in 90 seconds max. If you could do it in 30 seconds, I'll love you forever.
All right. If I had known making $50 a week and investing $50 in leads would have worked, or no. If I would have known that didn't work and I would have listened and made $250 minimum, I might have made money in my first 3 months.
That's good. That's good. And you know, the thing is, like, we, because there's a difference between hearing something and knowing something, right? Like, you can hear things, and so many times a lot of stuff coaching in this business goes in one ear and right out the other. Partially because we don't write stuff down a lot of times. And so, or we think that we're going to be the first one in the history of Symmetry Financial to make $1 million and only do 10 dials a week. And it's just not the case. And so, like, we hear things, but we don't know things. And you got to know it here in your heart that I have to do a minimum of 250. It's not that I want to, it's I need to. So I love what you said there, Mr. Elijah. Give us one nugget. If you could give somebody one nugget and say, hey, do this, it's going to make a change, it's going to help you dramatically this week, what would that be?
Give yourself a fair shot to win here. Way too many people quit too early. They don't work enough and then judge the system based off their results. And it's not fair to them or the team. What that looked like for me was when I first got started here, I always had a plan B if this didn't work. I always had an anchor keeping me back to a previous job or a previous internship where the income was consistent, and therefore I wouldn't do what was required in order to be consistent here. I didn't give myself a fair shot. And so whatever that situation may be for you, give yourself a fair shot to win here and put in what's required and what people are saying works and test it for yourself. So yeah.
Good. I love it, buddy. All right, Mr. Valzarn, the one, the only. I'm going to unmute you, buddy.
All right, I'm here.
I can hear you loud and clear. First things first, if you can say who you are, who you direct to, obviously, who you are, who you direct to, how long you've been here, and then had I known, had I listened, go.
Awesome. Good morning, everybody. This is Val Zarn, actually reaching out to you, not from sunny Southern California today, from Laughlin, Nevada, of all places. Doing a little bit of traveling here. The world is open. We just got to be careful moving on. I am direct to the awesome Chris and Lauren Cook. And what I would have done different, or what different sort of mindset I might have had in the first 90 days. When I did start out, I started out part-time. So my first 90 days was part-time. And I think I would have really focused on developing the belief in the business more quickly. Because if we develop that belief and mindset, that the question that we ask ourselves, and the question Chris asked me early on was, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? So if we could, Marty McFly, come back and talk to ourselves, knowing where we're going to be with 100% certainty, you know, what would we do to reach that destination? The answer is anything. So define what success means to you. You know, a goal is not a goal unless it has a date on it. It's just a dream. So create those goals, put them in writing, share them with your mentor, and put dates on them. Elijah nailed it, talking about, you know, having a schedule. If you don't have one, if you're not, you know, if you don't plan to schedule, you're planning to fail, right? So if it's not on your calendar, it's not important, and it's not going to happen. So for me, it was to develop that mindset and the belief, not just in the personal production side, because I knew I could do that. It took a while for me to get on board with the building side and which is something I've been doing much more consistently, much more focused on lately, and we're definitely getting the results from that.
Dude, I love it, buddy. That is so good. 10 seconds. What's one actionable step that somebody could take to change their results, make a difference in their business this week?
Understand that our habits ultimately create our outcomes, and know that we can create our habits. Therefore, we can create our outcomes. One of those habits, you said one thing, is to create a schedule and stick to it.
So good. That's so good, buddy. Thank you so much, Val. You're out there killing it. I believe you're in your first month AO run, right?
That is correct, my friend.
Hey, we're cheering you on, buddy. I know that you guys are going to kill it. You're on track. I mean, you've done over 29,000 in annual premium this month alone as a team. So keep pushing, keep rolling. Cheering you on from cloudy, humid Virginia. So there you go.
Nice.
All right, brother. Thank you. All right, real quick. We're going to go next one. Mr. Joe Martinez. Jose, can you hear me? Are you out there?
I'm out there. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, buddy. You're on hot seat. So tell us who you are, how long you been here. Let's keep it 30 seconds. Punch in and out. How long you been here, and had I known, had I listened to something. First 90 days. Go.
So Joe Martinez with Symmetry now for a little over 2 years. Originally from Texas, now out in Arizona. What I would have done if I knew is probably just a little more what Val said, trust the system a little bit better, and gotten more leads and dialed more to go faster. So I would have just trust the fact that making mistakes was teaching me more. And, you know, either you want to learn in a month what you can learn in 2 weeks, or you want to learn in 2 weeks what you can learn in a week. That's up to you. So if you trust the system a little bit more, you're basically, you know, we say it all the time, falling forward. You would start booking more appointments because you know that you're just moving forward, right? So I would have just trust the system and learned to make more mistakes faster, because I learned every single time I made a mistake, you know, by making a mistake and obviously following the system, right? Getting with my upline and say, hey, this is what happened. What's next? And if I had done that even faster, I would have had better results and just quicker. And that goes on the building side and the production side. So my advice would be, don't be afraid to make as many mistakes as fast as you can. That's what I got.
Good. I love it, Joe. And you are the king of that. I mean, you just went out there and you did so much activity that it was impossible for you to fail. Like you hedged your bets. You know, I remember watching you, like when you first started here, like your first year, you hedged your bets. It was like, I'm going to put in as much activity as I possibly can in order to make sure that I can't fail. And so I've always respected that about you.
Yeah, you know, every time I'd make a bunch of mistakes and I was like, oh, this is not going to work, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do more of it. And you get the results, period, no matter what. The numbers, that's what I love about Symmetry. The numbers do not lie. Every single number lines up as long as you put in the activity. So.
I love it. I love it, sir. I love it. Thank you for your wisdom and just for being awesome. Let's go to the next one here on the hot seat, and we're going to wrap this up. Hot seat, Mr. Mark Neubauer. Marky Mark and the gang. Can you hear me out there, Mr. Marky Mark?
Yes, I can.
Hey, so real quick, 30 seconds. This is your time. Had I known, had I listened, first 90 days. Also, who you direct to, how long you've been here, and also one of the best, most good-looking people in Symmetry, I might add, by the way. You're just a stud. Take it away.
Filters. It's all filters, Grant.
I love it. Take it away, Mark.
So, first 90 days advice?
Yeah, had I known, had I listened, something that would have changed for you, you know, had you known, had you listened in your first 90 days?
You know, a lot of it came down, and first of all, this is Mark Neubauer, direct to Chris Cook. I've been here going on 4 years, coming up here in July. Been part-time since day one, and I love, love, love it. This is a chance to change a lot of people's lives, both in the field and protecting families, and my passion, rescuing people from the 9 to 5 or the unknown directives. We've got a great system here, and the sooner you plug into it, the sooner it will all reveal itself to you. And by all, I mean even well outside this industry. So, you know, first 90 days is really important to recognize, as Joe said, first and foremost, what I appreciate about Symmetry is that everything we have is built on metrics. It's built on the numbers. And as Chris Cook always says, you know, activity solves everything. And if you put in the work and you plug in, the good news is, you know, when you start a business elsewhere, there are tools and resources at you know, a lot of businesses, or at least guides that you can follow from those that came before you. But there's really no system in place. And what's great about Symmetry is that it's almost like a factory. I mean, there is a straight up system here that you can follow step by step and win big here by simply putting in the work. And I guess the advice I have to anyone and everyone is you're here for a reason. Almost anybody and everybody, and I'm talking the 6-7 figure earners. I'm talking Miranda Martin, who just published her own book. I remember Miranda Martin's early days as she was coming up, as we were coming in. And a lot of it, guys, just boils down to plugging in to the system, plugging into self-development. And the reason we all came here, again, up to the 6-7 figure earners, is because something was missing. We wanted more out of life. We wanted more time. We wanted more money, whatever it is, maybe a little of both. But guys, we came here because we didn't have that yet. So it's time to just put down the I know, and say, how can I? What's next? Talk to your mentor. Whoever hired you. I know this is true in the Cook hierarchy. We're very selective about who we bring in. We want to give everybody a chance. At the same time, we got to protect the culture. So it's a responsibility of a new agent to come in with open arms and open ears and be able to follow directions and plug in, even when it may not make sense to you. If you don't think what's being asked, such as reading a book every month, may correlate to your numbers in the field, it all does. It all ties together. And all I can say is just listen, absorb, and follow. And the quicker you do that, the sooner you will be leading.
I love it, brother. And I think you just dropped something so good. Put down the I know. Pick up the I can. Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. You're awesome. All right.
You too, Graham.
Miss Jordan, can you hear me? Jordan out there in conference call land. Jordan. Can you hear me? Check 1, check 2.
Hello.
There we go. Okay, we got you. It wasn't unmuting. How are you doing this morning? Sorry that you put up an app.
I'm amazing. Yeah, no, it's amazing. Yeah, we've got Chick-fil-A. Been listening to you guys, killing it this morning.
Hey, I like that. Chick-fil-A is always a win. The Lord's chicken.
Yeah.
So tell us real quick, 30 seconds, who you are, how long you've been here, and then had I known, had I listened, first 90 days would have kind of changed the game for you. Go.
Yeah, so I've been a part of Symmetry for about 3.5 years now with my awesome husband. And we came from a sales environment, but we had no insurance background. And this has been exactly what we were looking for as far as identifying growth in our relationship. It's promoted everything that we've ever looked for. We probably didn't even know what all we were outlet to get what we want out of life. So I did very well in my first 3 weeks, but not my first 90 days. And it was strictly because I had no self-discipline, but I was very good at following directions. So when it came to, I think Marty said it on the 10 a.m. call this morning best, where whenever, you have a week where you write 3,000 APV, you don't take your foot off the gas. You know what I mean? So for what you've got there. And that's what I did. You know what I mean? 18,000 in APV in my first 3 weeks when I started. And I immediately took 2 weeks off after that. So that was probably what I would suggest for anybody. If you have success in your first 90 days, which is awesome. And by success, I do believe that you should be measuring your success with the amount of activity that you put in, you know what I mean? Rather than like the amount of appointments that you get, the amount of app count, APV. I was measuring my success based off of just doing what I was told. And then I made money all in the meanwhile. But I took 2 weeks off after I wrote that APV, and I lost all of my momentum. I had lost any of the confidence that I had from following direction because I became overly confident, which is like on a spectrum scale, I would say I went the opposite direction of being confident because I thought I knew what I was doing, when in reality, if I had remained a good student and I had rode the momentum that I had, who knows what kind of actual impact I could have made during that time. So my suggestion would be follow what you're being instructed to do, but don't take your foot off the gas if you're making money and helping families. Don't stop, because that momentum is what's going to help drive you through the learning curve of understanding self-discipline and running a business rather than a hobby, like Elijah addressed earlier.
That's so good, Jordan. And I think one thing that you said that I love is don't let a great week turn into a bad month. You know, like because we hear the other end of that, which is don't let a bad week turn into a bad month, but don't let a great week turn into a bad month. I've done that. I know we've all done that, where we let like our income determine our activity, where if you have money in the bank account, you just kind of let up the gas a little bit, but then it's such a pipeline business that it ends up biting you in the butt at the end of the day. But I love that. And you guys are just absolutely killing it. And I know that you guys have just some really cool things coming for your organization. So super proud to be in business with you, girl. Enjoy that Chick-fil-A. And thanks for dropping those numbers.
I just finished it up, man. I enjoyed every bite. It's so good being in business with you as well. Thank you for running this call today.
Well, thank you. All right, we're going to finish this up here. The last one, the one and the only, Laura and Barry Davis. I'm going to unmute you guys. Trying to unmute you guys. Potentially. There we go.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, girl. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. I am Laura Davis. I'm direct to Jordan and Jared Gillum, and we've been here about 3.5 years. We came in right behind Jordan and Jared 4 months. So they were here 4 months, and then we came in. We really learned a lot from them very rapidly, and I would definitely suggest within your first 90 days, just don't quit on yourself, guys. You know, embrace the struggle. That is something that I wish I had done in the very beginning. It's just part of it. You know, the struggle is uncomfortable, but it also is where you grow. And, you know, like all of you guys have really said before me, that if you just embrace it, make it part of your journey, then it's going to be worth it. You know, just don't quit on yourself. Don't take your foot off of the gas. You know, all these things that you guys have said before me are great things, but, you know, just don't give up on yourself. One of the things that I wish I had done more of in my first 90 days is build. You know, start building. You know, start bringing your friends and your family in. Tell them about this business. You know, guys, there's so many people out here that are struggling right now because, you know, we're just coming out of the pandemic and everything's opening up again. Some folks don't have jobs. You know, some folks were making $70,000, $80,000 a year, and it went down to 20 or 30. You know, so there's a lot of folks that are willing to make that change right now, and it's our job to offer that to them. You know, it's not our job just picking and choosing the people that we think are going to be good for this business. It's our job to show everybody the opportunity, and the good ones are going to stay, and they're going to take it and they're going to run with it. So, you know, when you're leading your teams, you know, don't give up on yourself, because you're ultimately giving up on them as well. So that's definitely, I would have started building earlier. That's definitely some advice that I would give the newbies out here, you know, and if you're in your first 90 days, just don't take your foot off the gas, guys. Like they were saying, you know, like Jordan was saying before, when you get that momentum up, when you get that pipeline going, just keep on the gas, you know, like Danny Young says, you know, keep it going. You know, when you put your foot down, don't let up, you know, and don't quit on yourself, guys.
I love that. And I
Thank
think
you,
you said
Grant.
something so good. Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think one thing you said that I loved, which was when you quit believing in yourself, you quit believing in your team. And that's such a poignant thing. Also, you know, I hired Elijah. He's one of the first 10 people I ever hired. I didn't know what I was doing. I was so bad at it that he thought I was trying to sell him life insurance. That's how bad it was. But guess what? He's still here to this day. Why? Because the business made sense to me. And so it made sense to Elijah. You know what I mean? You don't have to sell anybody on this business. You're here because it made sense to you. So it's probably going to make sense to somebody else. And furthermore, we don't want new people training. So don't worry about it. Your upline's going to train them. The system's going to train them. The conference calls, everything we have in place. You don't have to worry about trying to teach these, you know, new people what to do when you're first getting started. But your job is to show them because it made sense to you. And imagine the impact that you could have in coming out of your 90 days and you've got 4 or 5 people with you, right? So thank you guys for just sharing what your thoughts were on that. Just thank you. There's such a wealth of knowledge and wisdom. Chris Cook is not with us this morning just for the simple fact that he's working with corporate on some really exciting things. And so he had to be in meetings with corporate. And so he asked me to run the call this morning. So thank you, Chris, out there in conference call in. I'll give you guys mine. If I'd known, if I'd listened, if I'd actually sat down, I think something super practical was if I had sat down and kept track of my hours, I would have been amazed at how little I worked. Because it's easy to feel like you're doing a whole lot of business and a whole lot of work. In all reality, you're not. And if you actually calculate and turn on a timer, and I went online and I got one of those clock in, clock out timers because I became a W-2 employee to myself. And I clocked in and clocked out, and I realized I was working 21 hours a week, but I was trying to make $200,000 in a year, but I was only working 21 hours in a week. And so as I held myself accountable to working 40 hours or 20 hours, whatever that was, for you hold yourself accountable to that, and you actually track your hours of work as if you were working a job when you first get started here. And I think it'll help a lot of people. So that's what I would drop, little nugget there. So super excited. We have such a great week. Let's make this an awesome week, guys. Let's have a record week in annual premium because there's families out there who need our help. And like I said at the beginning, it don't matter how long you've been in this business. You could have been here for a little while. But at the end of the day, you're all kind of like Rocky Balboa. We're all there at some point. Either you're running up and down the stairs and you're exhausted and tired, you're getting punched in the face by a giant Russian, or you've had 20 sequels at $1 million and a Lamborghini. I don't know where you are yet, but keep going, keep running. Let's have a great week, guys. Thank you.